Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamara. Yes, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to the show. I am so glad that I had the foresight to drop my 5-year anniversary episode on my 5-year anniversary, which was November 12th, and then tell y'all, hey, that's going to be the episode for that week. Don't expect nothing else until the next week, because I went to a women's conference. I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now, it's really interesting when things happen that are like work events, because it was a work event in the sense that my job, I work at a church, I'm in ministry. We hosted I can't even say we hosted it, because it was, I don't even know if that's the right language, but it was our women's ministry conference, but it wasn't hosted at our church. It was about an hour away at this lodge. And I love stuff like that. Like, in some ways it reminded me a little bit of the podcast happy hour retreat that we went on. Shout out to Autumn, Audrey, Chris, and Jay. Still talk to them, in case y'all wondering. Just won't do podcast happy hour anymore. And I mean, as y'all can see around these parts, I don't even do visuals for my show anymore. So things have definitely shifted, but the main thing is the main thing, which I'm gonna get y'all this content. Anyways, it was a lodge though, but then it was also like a hotel. So like the part where the like conference sessions and all that were held was more cabiny in feel and look and whatever. But then the actual where we slept was hotel room. So it's like, it had like trails, and as I looked out the window of my room, you could see the trees and the woods and all that. So like, I love stuff like that. So it was such a great time to just get away. And, now the thing about it though, with it being a work thing, is during the conference, I didn't do any work. Shout out to the men on the creative team. They handled all that. Like, normally this would have been what is called a tier 1 event. So like a large event. Normally at events like that, or pretty much almost any type of event, I'm taking photos, if nothing else, because I'm on the content team. But I didn't even have to do that. So it was really such a dope experience. Now, before and after the conference, so the conference was actually Friday and Saturday. But Thursday we had what is called load-in. It's a term that's used in the production world. It's so interesting because I am the marketing director, and a lot of my role is typically stuff related to marketing and content creation. However, I'm also a full-time creative staff, and so I help with whatever I can. I've learned so much about like lighting and putting LED walls together and just all this stuff. And so I went down the day before to help with load-in. And so did that, then all day Friday and all day Saturday until the conference ended. Then it was just be a part of whatever. So it was really, the Lord just had my undivided attention, which brings me to this episode. So long story short, there was some offense in my heart that happened before the conference began. And then, like, I was just so angry. It doesn't even matter what happened. It's just, I was so angry, and I was like, I am going to hold on to this offense, which is wild. Like, I'm usually not even like that. Like, once I recognize something is in my heart, that's like, you know, I'm holding a grudge or I'm angry with somebody or whatever. Normally I am quick to want to process it and all that. You know what I mean? I talk about that on here. Oh no, it's just something about the way this scenario went and, you know, whatever, that just really had me hot, like angry, like crying for an hour, not like right after it happened or anything like that, but just like I was very, very angry. There was so much like pain and whatever. And in hindsight, I should have known there was a deeper issue going on, because it's like the level of emotion that I had towards what actually happened just shouldn't have been that. Now, granted, my time of the month had just started, so emotions are going to be more on high anyway. It had been a long day. I was tired, you know, all the factors. So there's that. So I just attributed it to that as, okay, this is why I'm this angry. And I don't even know that it was necessarily anger, but there was all sorts of emotions going on, right? And I remember, okay, so I've been writing a lot more lately, just little poems, and it's all out of whatever emotion I'm feeling or a thought. I've played around with like different concepts within poems, like I've actually posted some of them on like Facebook, and then post the screenshot of it so it's like a picture on Instagram. And so the most recent poem that I wrote, called In the Waiting, in that poem I used a lot of art language and stuff. So talked about a canvas and a masterpiece and a play on words with the word drawn and, you know, stuff like that. Just each piece is its own, like, whatever I feel like I'm trying to do. And it's been really, really great, because I haven't written this much poetry in a long time. And it's not necessarily for anything. It's just, that is always going to be my first love, writing, right? Like, to be honest, this show literally only was birthed out of writer's block, because I just love to write. Now, I'm grateful for it. I love this show, but I love to write more than anything. Even though I did a little bit of painting at the conference, we did some really just like abstract art, I'd say, is more so what mine is. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm such a fan of abstract art, and I'm such a fan of textured art. And this checks both of them boxes. So who knows? I may start just painting more, just to create my own stuff, it's just a fun creative outlet. It was like fun to do that or whatever. But anyways, so I got upset on Thursday night, and then Friday when I woke up, like, I had cried for a long time Thursday night as I was kind of processing through what I was feeling and what happened and just whatever. And then woke up Friday, felt a little bit better, but was like still upset about it. And so I wrote a poem, because I just really felt I'm very much like, if you've heard the phrase fight or flight, I'm very much flight. Like, it's not like it's from a fearful standpoint, but I just, yeah, when certain things happen to me that trigger me in certain ways, I would rather just be done with you, have nothing to do with you. And it's not that I don't want to talk about it because I don't have the skills. It's I literally don't want to. Like, I will cut people off, like, toxic me anyway. And so that's why I work really hard to not be that way. But for whatever reason, you feel me? We're all a work in progress. And I just was like, no, I'm upset. I don't want anything to do with this person anymore. The funny thing about that is that's not even a realistic expectation for myself to even say that, but that's just kind of where I was at. So I was just like, in my mind, figure out how I was gonna, if nothing else, emotionally shut myself off to this person and just literally interact with him at the barest of bare to the barest minimum, So I'm, in my mind, this is how things are gonna go. And so then the conference actually starts and we have worship, and God is funny because God knew that in an environment of worship, I'm going to be more open to hear from him because I'm actually shutting everything out and trying to engage in his spirit and trying to draw closer to him. So I don't remember what song played, and I wish I could just go in so much more in depth about the irony of it all, but I can't right now anyway. And so it's so funny, I'm in worship and I'm hearing the Lord say, what order did it go? He said, let go of the pain, right? And I was like, no, I don't want to. And we're going back and forth in this dialogue where I'm telling him all the reasons why I don't want to let go of the pain. And it's so funny because then what ultimately he had happen is the person who was behind me was led to pray for me. Now, all I know is I felt her hand on the middle of my back. So I knew somebody was praying for me. So by her doing that, as I'm having this conversation with the Lord where he's like, give me your pain. And I'm like, no. And I'm wrestling. It just sounds kind of actually silly in hindsight, but I was so serious. And it's kind of wild because I felt her hand on my back, but then I also felt the presence of the Lord so tangibly, almost extend out from her hand, if that makes sense. So it's her hand was in one spot, but then coming out of, I guess the best way to describe it is her hand, but all over my back. And then I just felt the presence all over my body. And if you've never tangibly felt the presence of the Lord, that probably sounds whatever, but I just know that's, what it was. I can't necessarily describe it other than it's I just felt almost warmth all over my body, but it wasn't a make me feel hot type thing. That's probably the best way I could describe it. But anyways, so I feel that, and then I don't even know what. I just know I was just okay, fine, take it. So it wasn't even my heart was oh my gosh, yes, I want to be obedient to you, Lord. It was really this reluctant, I feel justified in holding on to this pain. Here are the other reasons why I want to hold on to this pain. Just sounds so crazy. But all right, fine, So then I'm crying and, whatever, because that's usually how things go for me when it's the Lord is ultimately trying to bring me freedom. So then we have that. I no longer have the pain. So I'm okay, cool. We go on through the rest of the conference that day. That day ended. I go back to my hotel room and I go to sleep and I think about the offense again, that happened. So then that's going through my mind. I'm not necessarily feeling any pain. I'm just I can't believe this happened type stuff. So the next day we're at worship and this is the last day of the conference. And again, because there was just a lot of there was worship, there was teaching. I mean, of course, it's going to be that at a a Christian women's conference or whatever. And so again, we're in worship because God be knowing what he doing. It's so funny. And he's like, okay, let go of the offense. And again, I was like, no, I don't, just crazy because I'm really not a person that tries to hold grudges. And I was like, no. And then what the Lord ultimately said, because like, I think earlier prior to this happening, I had said like, Lord, I just want more of you. And so like, that's what I had said earlier at some point in the day. And so when we're in worship and the Lord is saying like, let go of the offense, he was like, you can't have more of me if you hold on to the offense, which makes sense to me because it's like, there's only so much space of what we can like contain. And so if, think of it like a jar, if you have a jar full of rocks, there's only so much more that can like fit in the jar. And then if you try to add other stuff, you're going to probably have to take out some of those rocks to be able to make the other stuff fit. So like if I'm being filled with this offense that I want to hold on to, how is there going to be room for more of him? So again, I was like, all right, fine. So again, it's like this reluctant, man, whatever, dude type thing. But it's just so beautiful that God works with even that. Just the little bit of itty bitty reluctant willingness that I had to do what he was asking me to do. He worked with that. And I'm being this transparent because it's like, I say a lot of things and I'm pretty open about struggles and, this, that, and the other. And I'm always like, be healthy in your relationships, this, that, and the other. And I truly believe that, but I'm human and triggers cause all kinds of stuff. And ultimately what I realized is that I got triggered to something that I didn't even know it was an issue. So like the interaction that I had with the person, it's not what they said, it's how they said it that triggered me. And how they said it, triggered me to a place of the toxicity and emotional abuse that was in my marriage with my ex-husband. I don't usually talk about stuff like that because he is dead. So I was married to the girl's dad. So I've talked on here before about how he was killed 9 years ago, 9.5 almost. So I don't always talk about our relationship, but it was, there was abuse and there was just all this stuff. And so, basically the interaction that I have with this person, what the Lord revealed to me is that it triggered me to that point and made me feel like that person was no longer a safe, I wasn't in any physical danger. So it wasn't that type of safe, but like emotionally safe person anymore. And that's not true. But this person has always been someone who's been like a safe space. And so it's like, it was wrestling through that and, stuff like that. And so had this interaction, got freedom. And it's like, as I think about it, it literally took the duration of that entire conference of God saying, okay, first give me your pain. Okay, cool. And I did feel better and felt freer. Then when the offense came back up, it's like, okay, give me the offense. And both times I'm like, no, I don't want to. And I'm wanting to hold on to it for what? What purpose does that even serve for me to hold on to offense? Because when you think about it, the only one that was affected by any of that was me. It wasn't the person that I got offended by. They had no idea what was going on or what was, I was going through or any of that stuff. And all it was doing was ultimately, if I would have held on to it, because this is over the course of not even maybe a 48-hour span of time, maybe not even, But if I would have continued to hold on to that, it would have became bitterness and it would have like taken root. And then ultimately that just affects the way that you interact with people. That's why I'm always so big on, you know, take care of yourself mentally, take care of yourself emotionally and all that stuff and be healthy in relationships. It's really for you, right? It's like, yes, your relationships will have so much more depth and healthy relationships are just such a blessing. But at the end of the day, it's a blessing to you. Like the other person too. Yeah. But it like helps you. And so it like God in his patience, but also his kindness to reveal to me what was actually going on in my heart, like why I responded the way that I responded. Right. But then also his patience to, as he's seeing I'm hurting and I'm wrestling and I'm this, that, and the other, his patience to just continue to almost like, in a way, kind of like fight against my stubbornness for my freedom. Because once I yielded all of that to him, it's like I feel so much more freedom that I didn't have prior to that it's kind of like, it's wild. It's like, had that not have happened, I wouldn't have the freedom that I have because I didn't even realize what was going on inside of me was like an issue. You know what I mean? So, because I've been divorced for 17 years. So like, yeah, he was killed 9 years ago, but we weren't together. Like we had been divorced for years. And mind you, I had forgiven him for the stuff that we went through. And like we've had different conversations before he died and really got back to a place of like being able to just co-parent and even got back to a place of being friends again before he died. So like, because we were friends before we ever like started dating, have kids, get married, all that stuff. So it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's wild how that kind of got triggered in me. But what's wilder to me is just God's relentless pursuit of my freedom. Even like, as I'm saying, no, I want to hold on to this pain, but it's like he knew that if I literally earlier said, I want more of you, that he knew saying you can't have more of me if you're going to hold on to a fence was like, oh, okay, well, what's more important to me right now? Holding on to a fence or the freedom that I know will come on the other side of like more of God and stuff like that. So yeah, that was how my weekend went. So I was at the conference Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then work on Sunday, but it was also my son's birthday. So
at the time of this recording,
it's Monday and I had a very, very full weekend, not to mention all of like, you know, when you process through pain and stuff like that, it really can be draining physically. So like, it's so funny. And it's also a rainy day today. So like earlier I was sitting here working. Next thing you know, I'm waking up in my work chair at my desk because it was a lot. There were late nights and early mornings and I didn't sleep good on Friday night and Saturday night. Like I fell right asleep, but I like kept waking up. And last night I slept great and even like went to bed earlier after I came back from dinner with my son for his birthday. But yeah, that is how my weekend went. There would not have been any time to record anything if I was going to try to drop something again last week. So I'm so glad that I made that decision in advance. It's like I kind of knew I had the conference and didn't want to have to worry about it. Like I never want this to be a burden and I don't really want to miss any more weeks. You know, I feel like the rhythm that I have now is pretty good to where I'm recording even if it's a week in advance, just to make sure it's already, done or whatever. So yeah, as always, as you could tell by this episode, take care of yourself mentally, take care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, be healthy in your relationships. And man, sometimes you're the problem. If I would have held on to that grudge and just all the things, I could just imagine how that could have grown into just more and more mess. And it's I wanted to be the problem, which is crazy because that's not even really me. But hey, we're all a work in progress. So I can't even say that's not me, because that was me that day, but God, you feel me? So thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, I love y'all so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for